Here's what's making news now around Indiana. Michigan-based auto parts supplier Lear Corporation has officially moved into a new 240,000 square foot plant in Hammond. Our partners at the Times of Northwest Indiana report the $30 million seat manufacturing plant is double the size of the company's previous factory in North Lake County. Hammond offered the company about $4 million in tax breaks in exchange for the investment and staying in the city. Bottle Works Lofts, a low-income housing community that includes a former Coca-Cola bottling facility in Fort Wayne, is officially open. The Coke plant closed and really has sat vacant for about 15 years now. Now that $14.5 million development has transformed part of the plant into 31 1-, 2-, and 3-bedroom lofts. Well, several bills that passed muster in the 2019 Indiana General Assembly could have a big impact on Hoosier businesses and the ability of the state to attract investment and jobs. For some insight on key bills and their impact and what key issues might be or will be assigned to summer study committees, pleased to be joined by Ginovus Executive Managing Director Larry Gigerich. As always, Larry, welcome.
Thanks, Gary.
Let's tick off these high-profile bills one at a time. First, bias crimes legislation was certainly a hot-button issue at the State House. A bill passed. Some suggested it did. A lot of people said they're happy with it. Some suggested it didn't go far enough.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one of the important things is, first and foremost, the governor said we have to get off the list. And the bill that passed moved us off the list. So I think that's very important. And sometimes you can't let perfect get in the way of good. And I think taking advantage of this opportunity when it presented itself was really important. But I do think as time goes forward and conversations continue, a couple of the other issues that were not in that bill that some wanted will make its way in at some point. Another
big issue from a business standpoint, taxation on data centers. Some suggested Indiana just was not competitive when it comes to these big data centers. Does this change that?
For sure. I think it puts Indiana in the game. And in particular, you look at it, companies look at, for data center projects, cost of electricity and taxation. Those are the two biggest issues by far. And with Indiana having business personal property taxes and sales taxes on both the equipment going into the data center and electricity, it was a huge barrier for us. And places like Ohio and Iowa really jumped ahead in Indiana. So we're in the game now, and it creates great opportunities.
And these data centers, you're talking about potentially big deals, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, some of these very large ones that you've seen in Iowa and Ohio, $500 million to $1 billion of capital investment, really significant.
Senate Bill 563, really kind of a catch-all for a number of economic development items, including the venture capital investment tax credit program was tweaked a bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I think this was great. It's a bill that hasn't received a lot of attention, but it's really a modernization of so many of our programs. And the venture capital tax credit is critically important because it allows it to be cash equivalent now, which will draw more investment from out of state from people who don't have a tax liability here. It's a big step forward.
There was also some tweaking of a headquarters relocation tax credit as well.
Yeah, so our tax credit here for headquarters really had a couple of really high bars to get over to be able to qualify for it. And again, thinking about this whole venture capital and tech world, and now it's open to small businesses and small businesses that have received venture capital funding recently and would move their headquarters from outside of Indiana into Indiana, and makes it refundable. It's really helpful.
A couple of issues assigned to summer study committees, one on tax increment financing. The other one I think is interesting is the regional investment hubs, this new way of funding economic development on a regional basis around the state.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, Indiana did regional cities. It was a one-time cash event, and I think a lot of people recognize, and really led by the efforts of Mayor Scott Fadness, that we have to have something that's sustainable, but more importantly, allowing local communities the ability to increase taxes and pull them together with their regional partners to fund regional projects that are important to economic development.
You think it has a chance going forward?
I think it'll get done. It may take a year or two, but I think it will get done, and it will be very important for Indiana.
All right, Larry Gigerich from Ginovus. As always, a great wrap-up. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
All right.